All right, so we wanted to talk a little bit about adding integers. Remember, we were talking about integers. Integers are just whole numbers, positive or negative, and zero. So -5 is an integer, 6 is an integer, 0 is an integer. So it's really using negative numbers. Manipulatives are just objects that we can hold. So in our case, we're using little plastic pieces like this. So we probably did this when we were really young, and we might have had a problem like 3 plus 2. And to solve 3 plus 2, we would take 3 pieces, and then we would add 2 more, and then we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you would know that the answer was 5. So we're going to be using two different kinds of manipulatives. These are both positive integers, so you can see we're representing them using positive pieces. So this would represent a 1, this would represent a positive 2, in this case this represented positive 3, which is what we started with. Then we added 2 additional. We're also going to be using little negative symbols to indicate negative numbers or integers. So that would be a -1. This would be equal to -2, -3, and so on. Something else important that we need to know is that if I had a +1 and a -1, +1 plus -1 equals 0. So anytime I see a pair of these, I know that the value of that pair is going to be 0. So let's look at our first example of one with a negative number. Let's say I had 3 plus -2. Now I'll put parentheses around the -2 just so my operation symbol and my negative symbol don't get mixed up. I would start by my first number. My first number was 3. So I'm going to write a +3. And I'm going to think, what am I doing to this number? I'm adding -2. So I'm going to put one piece here, and I'm going to put one piece right here. Now I know that a positive and a negative equals 0. They cancel each other out. So I'm just going to take those and I'm going to wipe them off. I know that I have another positive and a negative. Those are going to wipe each other off. That leaves me with only a +1. So the answer to this problem is actually just going to be +1. I could prove that by doing this another way, using a number line, okay, counting backwards 2 steps. I would see that that's my answer. Now I can also write this out. Okay, so I could just write 3 plus signs to indicate the number I start with. Then I'll notice I'm adding 2 negatives, -1, -2. And then I'm going to cancel out any pairs. So I just like to circle them to show that I'm not using them anymore. That leaves me with 1 plus left, or an answer of +1. So you can see I can write it out, or I can do it using the shapes. Okay. So we'll look at another example. Let's say I had -4 plus a +5. Now one thing that's also good to start doing is to look at thinking about which are you going to have more of. So I can predict, look at this saying, I'm going to have 4 minus pieces. I'm going to have 5 plus pieces. And I could think, well, if I have 5, I have way more, not way more, but I have one more positive than I have negative. That means my answer is going to be a positive number. So whatever number is larger, or you have more of, 4 negatives, 5 positives, my answer is going to definitely have to be a positive answer. So that's one thing just to think, okay, my answer is going to be positive. That's a way to check your work. Then I will cancel out, oops, there's a 5th one down here. I will cancel out any pairs that we have. So this is a pair that equals 0, so I can remove it. This is a pair equals 0, so I can remove it. 2 more pairs. That leaves me again with just 1. So my answer, if I'm adding -4 to 5, is just going to be a +1. If I wanted to write this out, I'd start out by writing 4 negative symbols to represent my first number. Now I look at my operation, I'm adding. So I would have to add these 5 positives. I would cancel out each pair, and I'm left with a +1 as an answer. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time, and I'm just going to write it this time. Let's say I had -7 plus +3. I'm going to start by writing, I'm going to think, more negatives than positives. My answer is probably going to be negative. In fact, it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negative symbols. 3 positives, so 1, 2, 3. Cancel out any pairs. I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4 negative symbols. So my answer is going to be negative 4. So I can do this using the pieces. I can just use this using paper. I will see my answer was negative like I thought it would be. That's how we can add integers using manipulatives or drawing these manipulatives out.